running for district. This is for
Does he want the job?
Yeah.
Or want a job in the ambulance thing or whatever? But let's just,
signing up. So it's not length of time. You're more than welcome.
very true.
Absolutely, man.
Let's do it.
Showing the road.
That's crazy.
Gary.
I'd like to call the City of Ferrysburg Council meeting to order tonight, Monday, March 2, 2020. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hop,
Here.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Here.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Here.
Councilmember Carlson,
Here.
Councilmember Blees,
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Here.
Councilmember Sias.
Here.
At this time, I ask you to stand for the invocation given by Mayor Hop, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to serve our community. Please open our eyes and our hearts to remain mindful of our decisions and actions tonight, to be truthful and with steady purpose to best serve our community. Please continue to protect all of our men and women in uniform and keep them safe from harm. We pray this in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is, you go, sorry.
Moving down on the agenda, public comments. At this time on the agenda is for any citizen to give a brief comments or questions to City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please stand to give your name and address for the record. Proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lee Fisher, and I currently work in the Ottawa County Prosecutor's Office. And I'm here tonight to introduce myself to you because I'm going to be running for Ottawa County Prosecutor in 2020. I don't know if any of you have heard or not that Ronald France, our current longtime prosecuting attorney, is retiring this year. He's decided not to run again, and Ron is endorsing me in my run for prosecutor. I've worked for Ron for 29 years. I'm currently, like I said, his chief assistant. I've been a prosecuting attorney for 31 years. Total, 2 years in another county and then 29 years here in Ottawa County. A little background about myself. I'm married, 3 children, 3 grandchildren at this point. Went to law school with the idea of becoming a prosecuting attorney. That was my goal in going to law school in the first place. I've always had an interest in public service and serving the public and so forth. So I thought, I first went to college with the idea of becoming a police officer and decided along the way that I picked up a major in political science, became interested in the court systems, and thought I'm just going to go on, not become a police officer, go on to law school and become a prosecuting attorney. So that has fortunately panned out for me for the last 31 years. And during that 29 years here in Ottawa County, I would like to think that I've built up some very strong relationships with our judges in the county, social service agencies, defense bar, attorneys that I practice against. Many of them are supporting me as well. And most importantly, I built up very strong relationships with law enforcement. That's central to the job that we do as a lead law enforcement officer in the county. I will tell you that I'm being endorsed by current Sheriff Steve Kempker, retired Sheriff Gary Rosema, retired Undersheriff Greg Steginga, as well as many of the other law enforcement leaders within the county. Some are not allowed to publicly endorse because their cities or their municipalities won't allow them to publicly endorse, but I can assure you that I have all of their support. I also have the support of several other elected officials here within the county. I'm running on my platform. The three main parts of my platform are, of course, number one is always and always will be, no matter what we do, has got to be public safety. Everything that we do as a prosecutor's office has to be done with public safety in mind. That is paramount. Secondly, I want to focus, as we always have, and I will continue to focus on crime victims' rights. There are a number of reforms going on in the criminal justice system right now. Some are good, some maybe not so good when it comes to victims of crime. And I want to make sure that with some of these criminal justice reforms that are going on, that victims remain front and center as a consideration when they, as opposed to maybe the accused or the defendant. Not that that's not important as well, but victims have to not get lost in the shuffle. Thirdly, I want to make sure that we continue to protect our children in this county. We have a very strong children's advocacy center that is there to serve and help kids who have been sexually, physically abused, and so forth. We have a prosecutor that's been designated to that multidisciplinary team with the advocacy center, and it's been a great program. I think we've done a good service for the children here in Ottawa County. Another thing that I believe strongly in as maybe an alternative to incarceration is our specialty courts. Our drug court programs, our sobriety court programs, our mental health court programs. And I'd just like to tell you, I was on the initial team that founded the circuit court drug court program here back in 2005 in Ottawa County. So with that, I guess my time is about up. Right now I'm running as a Republican. Right now I'm unopposed, and my goal is to keep it that way. So I do have some literature here for you.
Okay.
If you'd be willing to take one of these from me, I can hand
Certainly.
these out.
You can just come right over to the bench.
And I'll stick around to the end of the meeting if anybody has any questions for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public
Thank you
comments?
so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vern Helder, and I'm currently the magistrate in the district court system, and I'm running for district court judge. One of our judges, Judge Jonas, is retiring this year. She's not eligible to run for re-election, so I'm running for her position. First of all, I forgot to give you my address, 1989 Tiffany Court, Holland, Michigan. I've been a Holland resident for about 29 or 30 years. I grew up in Wyoming, or Granville. I went to Calvin Christian High School, and then I also graduated from Calvin College. After that, I went to Detroit College of Law, which is now Michigan State University School of Law, and I graduated cum laude. After graduating, I worked for the Court of Appeals for about a year and a half as a research attorney. It's called a pre-hearing attorney, and at that point, you could only work. They hired you for a year and re-hired you for another year, but then it was done. So after about a year and a half, I took a job with a litigation firm in Grand Rapids. We did commercial collections. I did that for about 18 years, which gave me a lot of experience in front of the bench. I don't know if you know anything about commercial collections, but it's a high volume business. We filed a lot of lawsuits. We went to court all over the state of Michigan. Our Grand Rapids office, we had 3 offices, but Grand Rapids office covered the western part of Michigan. And so I've been to many, many different courts, and I've been in front of many different judges. In fact, for the last 4 years that I was working at the firm, they allowed me to work part-time as a magistrate with the county, with Ottawa County. And so when I went to the interview, of course, I knew all the judges because I practiced in front of them, which was a benefit for me. I didn't really know I was going to interview with the judges. I didn't really expect that. But they hired me to be the magistrate. I was a part-time magistrate for 4 years. I've been the full-time magistrate for 13 years. I transitioned from private practice to working for Ottawa County in public service. I feel called to do that. I've got a lot of experience both in front of the bench and now behind the bench, or on the bench. I handle many cases the same as the judge would handle it, misdemeanor arraignments. If they plead guilty, I sentence them. We do search warrants, arrest warrants, I do all the small claims cases, and so I have a civil docket, and I try more than 100 cases a year. In fact, I had 2 trials today. So I think I've got a lot of experience. I think it makes me very uniquely qualified for this position, and I would love to have your support and your vote when it comes time to voting. Thank you very much.
And we'll move down to agenda item 6, consideration for approval of consent agenda. Approve the February 17, 2020 City Council meeting minutes as printed. B, adopt a resolution proclaiming April 19th to the 25th, 2020 as National Library Week. C, approve a resolution to adopt a proclamation declaring April 24, 2020 as Arbor Day for the city of Ferrysburg. And D, approve the mayor's appointment of Emily Sturley to term ending July 1, 2022 for the Recreation Commission.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion?
I'm assuming that Ms. Sterling has recommendations from the Rec Commission.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, there's motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Moving down to items 7 with new business. A, discussion take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution authorizing the submission of a .2500 mil for Northwest Ottawa Regional Recreational Authority, NORA, proposal to the voters for the August 4th ballot. And Mr. Bessinger has information to share with us at this time.
I will go through a quick slideshow here regarding the upcoming millage. This is a brand-new millage for Nora, so it would be a brand-new millage for everybody in the Grand Haven Public Schools. This was put together by the Nora director, Chris Van Heeken. So here it talks about the different items or programs that Nora currently offers. And this is what is being proposed for a millage. We're asking for a .25 millage. So when you see the city of Ferrysburg would raise around $46,000. So the allocation right now for the 4 communities, City of Grand Haven Township, part of Robinson Township, and the city of Ferrysburg contribute about $119,000. With the new millage at a quarter, .25, we'd raise $472,000. And this is just a spreadsheet showing the $472,000 being raised. So the total revenue currently is about $400,000 for Nora. Most of that comes from the $119,000 from the communities, program fees, team fees, grants from United Way, and so forth. If you look over to the far right column at the quarter mill, the funding would come from the millage at $472,000, and the program fees you see would drop from $168,000 to $50,000. So the goal with this millage is to reduce program fees to get more kids involved. Current expenses about $379,000 for Nora. With the millage, we expect the increase to come to about $572,000. Be an increase in wages with more programs, we'd hire more staff. And summer school, we would be able to do a little bit more there, so there'd be an increase in cost there for summer school. Instructors, we would have more instructors because we would have more programs. So that would increase the expenses for Nora to $572,000. So with a quarter millage on the far right column, we would raise about $591,000, expenses about $572,000, surplus about $18,000. So this is some of the things that the Nora millage would be able to do. The communities would not contribute any longer. It would be solely on property taxes. Reduce the registration costs for kids to participate in the programs. Expand summer school. We would be able to apply for grants and grant funding and do some other things to make Nora provide better services to the residents. So some of the ideas that are being kicked around is hiking and walking classes, kayaking classes, and so forth. And even down on the bottom of the screen, there are some education style classes, baking, cooking, auto repair, welding, CAD drawing, first aid. We'll be able to partner with West Michigan Academy of Arts and Academics. We're doing that a little bit right now with drawing classes, dance classes, and drama classes. Hope to expand that. Work with the YMCA and try to do an event in each municipality in the future. So that's what we do with the money that was raised if the millage was passed. So at the last NORA board meeting, the board approved a resolution to ask the communities to put this on the ballot. This will be on the ballot for August 4th. All four communities have to approve this. All four communities have to approve the ballot measure for it to be successful. That's all I have at this time.
Your Honor, I'd like to move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the submission of a .2500 mil Northwest Ottawa Recreational Authority, known as NORA, proposal for the voters to decide on August 4th ballot. Support.
Motion support. Further discussion around this?
I'm just a little bit concerned because we have the vehicle millage coming up, the Smiths Bridge millage and the Headley rollback, and we're already looking for places to put those on the ballot. Any idea that this might hinder those, you know, putting too many millages out there all at once like this?
Craig, there's,
This would be the only millage at this time that I'm aware of that being on the August ballot. The vehicle millage expires in 2021, and the council hasn't decided if they wanted to put that on an earlier ballot in August or November, or wait till November of next year.
When do we have to give notification on this as far as?
But the August, May 12th.
For May, by May 12th.
Craig, this has to pass at all the municipalities for it to pass, right?
That's correct.
Just a side note, they've been working on this for what, 4 years now?
10 years.
10 years?
15 years.
It's been a long time coming. I know a lot of our young people, children, use the programs. To Craig's point, some of them do not participate because of the fees involved. So we're cutting our own residents out of participating because of the fee schedule, which, you know, I mean, we try to help them, but this is a big step forward for our citizens.
it's been discussed, it's like what Craig said, for many years, because Ottawa County is the fastest growing county in the state too. So we're trying to accommodate, looking for the future and the retention too of also our residents, but also take into consideration our aging population we have in Ferrysburg and the financial that this could, you know, hinder some of the households. So something not to take in lightly as we make the vote tonight.
What would a .25 millage equate to on a $100,000 home?
$5.
$25.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I've been on and off that board for probably 3-4 years, and yeah, Craig's right. We've been working on this for a long time, but I think to expand the programs, to reduce the program fees, I think that's pretty important. So if we educate the voters on that's what it's going to be, then I think we'll get, you know, some pretty good response. But like Will said, yeah, all the 4 different communities have to pass it for this to pass as a whole. So if one of them votes it down, then it doesn't pass.
This time we'll go for a vote. All those in favor stating aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. Moving down to 7B, discussion take action if appropriate to schedule a work session as a regular agenda item on March 16th. Mr. Buzenter had a note in our packet. Possible topic would be for the 2021 city budget. And I would like to see that for the next work session. Other concerns, questions?
Absolutely, on the budget, yeah, I have some questions on that would be appropriate at that time.
Any other item you'd like to see on a work session
I
at
think,
this time?
I think we should further discuss, you know, we've had a little bit of time to mull over the different millages, different ways we've been considering. Maybe put that on there and see if we can't come to some kind of resolution or some kind of consensus as to what we want to do as far as the Headley rollback. A forever millage, we've all had, you know, input. Let's think about it and maybe we can discuss it further at that point.
I'll try to roll that into the budget presentation.
Well, yeah.
So I think that'd be good to include with our budget discussion, just because then we can really chart out, based on the needs of the community, these are the millages we're gonna get, and these are the cuts we're gonna have in our budget if we aren't successful with these millages.
Further, we can discuss on how to educate the community through the website or whatever as to, you know, what the purpose of the millage is to maintain. You know, it's not like we're all getting a raise, it's maintain the services as we have now. I think it's something we need to discuss.
And as stated before, in the 2017 council does not vote to increase people's taxes. We can only vote to put it out for a ballot, and then the voters vote if they choose to have a millage increase. So on whatever topic that is, that's put before them. So there's one really big work session with the budget. Okay. Any other work session options that you'd like to see?
We're gonna discuss the work session on the grant application. Should we put that on there if we come to some kind of consensus tonight to put it as a resolution on the next agenda?
Well, we can discuss that on 7B. I'm at 7C.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll move down to 7C, the work session for the 2020 Build Grant. Mr. Buzinger had information in which recapped the conference call that Mr. Buzinger and I participated in February 11, gathered some really good information from the Department of Transportation. So with that, do we want to move forward and submit this application? In 2018, the application to replace Smith's Bridge was at a cost of $10,000. And then in 2019, the city submitted the build grant application at a cost of $4,770. So there is a cost associated with this.
Your Honor? We are currently in the process of applying for a grant to repair the bridge, correct?
Correct.
To the point of 10 to 20 year lifespan.
Correct.
We're not gonna get both. We've been very unsuccessful. In fact, they flat out told us we'd never get 14 million for bridge replacement. So this repair is going to be included in the engineer's presentation next meeting, correct? Or?
In April, yes. In April.
Oh, and after the underwater?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure the underwater is going to be weather dependent, but they'll have their inspection done early April.
So I guess my point being is, why are we applying for a grant to replace the bridge when we're going to apply for a grant that we have a pretty good success rate to repair it? We spent $14,000, and every time we apply to the state for replacement, we get turned down. I mean, like, I'm just throwing, we're throwing $14,000 away. We might get $1.5 million to repair it.
This is on, the application's due May 18. It would take time to complete the application, so it's here to decide if we want to move forward with this or if we just want to not compete this year for the 2020-2021 grant round.
Do we have a estimate what the cost would be for the 2020?
For the grant application, no. Probably some dependent on who was doing the grant application. The first year in 2018, Williams and Works did the grant application. In 2019, they just revised it a little bit. using the same material. If you have the same person do it, you know, there might be some cost savings, but if you have a different firm do it, it'll probably be up there to $10,000 or better.
Also, the change too is that the rural population had changed from 50,000 or less to a population of 250,000 or less. So it puts us in a category with a lot larger cities than what we had been originally in 2018. So,
So this is a separate grant from
Correct.
what we're applying for?
yes, this is through the USDOT,
This would be to replace the bridge. Totally.
but it's a separate agency also.
But it's a separate agency.
Yes.
Right, this would be a federal grant. The build grant is a federal grant. We're applying for a state grant for repair.
Give us some direction, Craig. What would you like to see us do?
It seems like the repair at this time is the path that city council is going. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. That was an option out there that if you want to look at, we can look at. We've been working on a grant to repair the bridge. I'd like to stay that course.
I guess, if we have Williams, you know, there was, $5,000 in savings from the original grant application to the second one, correct? Because she had all the information. So I guess I wasn't aware this was from the feds. I thought it was a state grant. Do we have any better chance of getting any money from the feds?
The issue with the Smiths Bridge and getting money from the federal is
It's a
it
local
doesn't create
bridge.
jobs. It's a local project. It's not a regional project.
Amount of cars that travel over, we're not connecting Ferrysburg to Fort Lauderdale. Some challenges that we would face if we go forward with this again.
Be my recommendation to pass on it this year. I wanted to make sure that city council was aware of it and if they had different.
You're the boss.
So,
Well,
did you have a
I
question?
think we should still take a look at take advantage of what's out there. There seems to be some a little bit more interest in the federal government helping out the infrastructure than there was in the previous year. We also, our category changed when we went from the larger city, the 250. I think we still should, options, replacement is better than repair. And since we're already spending money on the other grant, we might as well, we have the money available in our bridge fund, go for this one.
Just for clarity, we didn't change. Their designation of what rule is changed, and we always fell under a rural bridge. The only thing that changed is now there's quadruple the number of communities that fall under the same category as we do. With this, there's a lot more competition, and with this being local and not regional, and like Mayor Hop said, leading really to no major infrastructure, I think our best bet's to remain fiscally responsible and push towards their repair this year.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I know what Tim's saying. It's always nice to apply for everything we can and whatever's out there, but if it's $5,000 or $8,000, I don't think it's a good use of money. I mean, let's try to do the state grant for repair. We can always apply for this again next year if we had to, but boy, I'm very leery of spending that kind of money for this, and I don't think the odds are good to get it.
Mr. Bessinger, with us utilizing Fleece and Vandenbrink versus Williams and Work, would that make a difference in the cost? Because Williams and Work did the original one in 2018, but this year Fleece and Vandenbrink has
We changed engineer firms to write the grant, it would be an increase in cost over last year,
Possibly up to that 10,000
10,000 or
roughly or
better.
so. Okay, so that's
And
another.
We've had grant writers in the community offer to assist in the past. Is that something we've explored or talked to?
We did last year. This person reviewed the grant and made numerous suggestions that were incorporated into the grant. I'm not sure this person can do it on their own because there's so many calculations and cost benefit ratios that need to be completed, but we would utilize them.
Quick question, Craig, I forget the engineer we had with Williams, she's changed companies, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, Susan Tebby. So there would be no cost savings. I'm assuming she was replaced at Williams. Does the council think it might be worth a phone call to see if they can do this for $2,000, maybe it might be worth throwing it out there? Would that be something that is worth a phone call?
Susan?
Well, to Williams, because Susan's left the company, correct?
Well, Susan did the grant though. She's the one who's familiar with the bridge.
Well, I
She's the one
guess-
that wrote the grant.
I guess my question was, first time it was $10,000, second time it was $5,000. If it's $2,000, what we got to lose for $2,000? I mean, I doubt we'll be successful, but for 2,000, they give us 14 million. I'm a happy camper. Maybe we should make a phone call and put it on the next session.
the consensus of council?
I don't think there's any, with the person that's familiar with the bridge leaving their company, I don't think there's any way realistically they're gonna do it for $2,000.
Well, we don't know. She did have price.
She was gone in
once.
2019, correct, Mr. Bosinger? She was not at Williams and Work in 2019.
She started the grant at Williams & Works in 2019 and switched to Manica Group in the 1st of July. So she finished it on the new company's time.
Staff to reach out to Williams and Work for information on what the cost would be, or do we want to?
I think we
Just-
should, yes.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that we spend the money, but at least find out the number. You know, there's a big difference between $10,000 and $5,000, reduced to 2 years.
Well, there'd be some updating to do, and I think that we would need to get some more information into the grant application as well. I think they're looking for it to be more developed. You know, we use 4 pages, we're allowed to use 5 pages, we should have used 5 pages to explain a certain thing.
Don't think we'll be successful, but, you know, maybe if we have a number, like I say, for $2,000, it's worth a gamble. That's what we said when we applied for it for $10,000.
Do we want to direct staff at this time to move forward to make a call? To gather more information, come back to council?
I can make a call and put that information in the council packet.
Packet for this next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Is
don't
that-
have nothing to lose.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Moving down to 7D, strategic plan. Katie had the draft placed in our packet, and then also on your table, because we were talking about vision and mission statement, there's a packet of information on your table that I had placed there that talks about establishing a vision and a mission statement. And the second page in, at the very top, is the one that we began in 2018 following the strategic plan, but it was never utilized past a work session. So I don't know if this is something we want to spend time tonight working on, or we want to take it home, review, send information back, because in 2018, there was myself and Mayor Pro Tem O'Donnell were the only 2 council members that submitted anything in for consideration. So at this point, do you want to just take this packet home, and then we can address the vision and mission statement for the city at a future council meeting? And then today, just focus on our, the draft strategic plan that's been put in place. Because before we move forward to do anything with branding, the ideal would be to have a vision and mission statement. And since '63, Ferrysburg hasn't had any of that. let's move forward just with the strategic plan tonight and readdress the vision and mission statement later? Sure. Okay, all right, thanks. Katie, do you want to walk us through this? Okay.
All right, so page 1 is the cover page. Page 2 is just a listing of the city council members. Page 3 is our process summary of our strategic plan. And so this first part of this process summary is taken from our master plan, discussing just broadly the geographic features of the city of Ferrysburg, as well as what the broader vision for the organization is, and this is from our most recent master plan. And then there's a brief discussion of the strategic planning process from last year, and then the strategic planning process from this year, and also just kind of here's what is in the rest of the packet. The next page is our vision, mission, and vision statement. And then the 5 goals at the bottom are the goals that we agreed upon during our strategic planning session. So once we have a vision and mission statement, those will go there. The next page is the section for values. And in here, I copied into what Ottawa County has put for their value statements in their strategic plan, just to kind of give you an idea of the types of things that they did. So, for example, their values were the democratic process, the law, service, employees, diversity, professionalism, and stewardship. If you look to the next page, now this is where we start getting into the business plan, which is kind of just what is the SWOT analysis that we agreed on, and then also the various objectives. So the next page right here is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you guys can stop me anytime if you have questions about a page or want to know more about it. So these are the SWOT, the ones that we talked about during our session. They have not been edited or anything. The next page. Now, so the next 5 pages are our 5 goals that we discussed, and then within each goal are the objectives of that goal. The objectives are ranked according to the ranking that you did with the stickers, and so the one that was the most supported by council is on top, and then downwards for each goal. So on the left-hand side is your objectives, and each step for those objectives. And then on the right hand side, the output is in the gray circle. That's what we want to happen. And the blue outlined circle is our output indicator, which basically means how will we know that we achieved our output. So I don't know if you guys have any questions or comments about goal 1. So the objectives are what we agreed on during the strategic planning session, but the steps for each objective are up for comment, or any changes you'd like made.
Okay. Anybody else have out of these 5? Because we've seen these before. It's just putting a roadmap together for how we're going to get to them.
Yeah. Okay. So after those 5, this is our assigned resources and deadlines section, which is new. And so essentially it is each goal, objective, and step written out exactly the same as the previous 5 pages. And then the next column is the projected completion date and who is going to be doing it. So goals 1 and 2 are on the first page. Goals 3 is on the second page. Goal 4 is on the third page, and goal 5 is on the fourth page.
staff or subcommittees, council being involved, Department of Public Works, and that to move this process forward. So we just added some more layers to it this year from what we had 2 years ago, which was our first ever strategic plan for the city that we created in 2018. So with this, this is only the draft. Do you want to give direction to staff to put this on the next agenda and we can approve it and have it be a working document?
I think we should. It looks good to me.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Because the strategic plan is something to be used and not placed on the shelf for 5 years, and we want it to be a working, moving document.
The sooner we get working on it, the sooner we get it accomplished.
And there you go.
I expect it done by,
Yeah, I think it looks good. A lot of work and input and information we put into it, so.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Developing the mission statement
Yes.
and the vision statement.
Yes.
How are we anticipating that happening?
Do we want to add that to an upcoming work session? There's examples that I provided to people, and we can go through and we can compile them, add to, change the language, just have it be when I've done them before, we put them up on the screen, and then the group is just talking and words are being changed in sentence structure. It's amazing when you start doing that, then you can take a long sentence and put it into 4 or 5 words and make it something that stands out, that's unique to us. Because right now I'm waiting for another return phone call, working with the gentleman at Pure Michigan. So he's willing to, and his department willing to assist us and possible branding in that. So in order to move forward with that, this mission vision statement is really critical. So
I thought Pure Michigan was defunded.
some of the funding has come back through them.
Okay.
Are we okay with adding this onto the next agenda?
Sure.
Okay.
Are
Katie,
we
think-
gonna, are we gonna be provided, like, how are we gonna track how this is completed? Are we gonna be provided monthly updates or
Mr.
Or-
Bessinger
or
has updated us.
updates every
Yes.
meeting? or-
I don't know if every meeting, but periodically you'd give us updates on, we could set it up to be once a month or however we'd like to have an update.
I think typically he gives us an update about quarterly, don't you, Craig?
This is how much we get accomplished, you know.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep you posted of what's going on.
Like the city council goals, when we knock one off, he most generally lets us know about it.
Conversation that Councilmember Carlson and I just had, do we want to add the vision and mission statement onto our next work session along with the budget?
Yes.
Or do you think the budget is going to take ample time that,
So I think that we're gonna spend some significant time on the budget, but I would like to add this as a work session on another night.
okay. So we can do that. Is that the consensus? To use the vision and
Agreed.
mission for another night besides next council? Great.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, okay. All right, any other discussion with the strategic plan at this time? No? Okay, hearing none, we'll move down to item 8, public comments. Any additional public comments?
Can we back up just one step here? From Katie, the grant application is upcoming, it was on the second page of the
Yep.
strategic plan. Could you elaborate on some of that? What would qualify for grant?
Okay, make sure everybody has, this was additional memos that Katie has.
The
put
second
in for
page.
us to read, so being a separate packet, near the back.
Second page,
Okay, so Councilmember DeWitt is looking at the second page in. It would have been on there.
yeah, it should have been stapled separately, I think so. It was kind of
What?
confusing
Sorry.
because it was covered by the strategic plan there.
It was just additional information in the packet. It wasn't on the agenda.
Well, can we discuss it?
Sure.
Okay, couple questions.
Yes.
All right. we've been fighting for money, trying to get money out of the budget to develop street ends. We have, what, 3 or 4 of them to develop yet? Craig, I don't recall the exact number. It's been, is that something that would qualify for these grants?
Pack launch should be an eligible project under certain grants. You know, the Recreation Commission's gonna have to look at it and they kick for the street ends and figure out where they want to put it.
Couple more questions first. We talked about putting a little fishing pier on the end of, what is it, 3rd Street where they load the barges?
4th
Off to the
Street,
side there?
Yep.
4th Street?
Yep.
Is that something that would qualify? These are the questions I had reading through this. We, at one time, we talked about putting a boardwalk from Ferry Park to the end of 4th Street with a fishing pier along the water there, providing we get permission from Johnson Boilers. Last time I talked to the owners, they were agreeable to a point, and they weren't gonna give us the land, but they would allow us to cross it with a boardwalk or something of that nature. That was the last conversation. That's been, what, 3 or 4 years ago this came up. But these are the kind of things that my questions are. We can improve the city. The street ends, we did one, what, 2 or 3 years ago. An Eagle Scout project, a grant from the community fund. These are the kind of things that I would like to see us apply for grants for.
Need to go back through the rec commission.
Right.
The
So
rec commission would need to review and then give directives.
Who's on the rec commission? See if we can do something about that.
So, are you talking about for this Consumers Energy Grant?
Well,
Because that, I mean, that's due before our next meeting. It's due
Let's do
today. So,
The DNR.
DNR passport would be one that we should
Right.
definitely take into consideration.
yeah.
got the
and-
recreation passport. Craig, I guess, could you give the rec commission a little more detail on the grants that are available that we could qualify for and let them take it from there?
yes, I can.
Thank you.
And so, thank you for this, Katie. And can I ask that you look into, just remind me, seeing Consumers Energy. Consumers Energy does a tree grant to buy trees for local communities. And I think we're gonna need some this year. So, could you look into that for us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
40 last year, 40 again this year.
Yeah, well, if they buy it, even better.
Any other directives, or if you take this home and you look at it to let staff know or something. Yes, and thank you, Katie, for all of this.
And
Really, the
if
work
you're not
you put
able to
into it.
find that, just email me.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions regarding that? So staff has directions to go back to the rec commission? Also with the ADA compliance too, that would be a huge benefit for us. So, all right, hearing none. Public comment? Hearing none. Okay, we'll move on to reports. City manager.
No report?
Katie, Miss Intern.
Yes. So the sound system. So we have received one grant back, one proposal back from Buis Electric, who did this sound system. I did ask them about the lapels microphones. They will not. The ones that were mentioned will not work with the system that we have or with the new system. In addition, there's some problems with not only with the connection point, but it would be possible that then they would not project out into the room at all, which then becomes an issue of ADA compliance again. I called them again today to ask if there was any other sort of lapel microphone that might work with the system they're proposing, which would help solve some of our problems of the leaning back and such. And they have not called me back yet. So the quote that they've given us is for $5,900 to replace the sound system, and it would be essentially the same sound system we currently have, but just an upgraded form and much newer, so that we wouldn't have not as many problems with it. I have not heard back from the other company. We asked for a quote in regards to whether or not any quote. Yeah.
Quick question. Craig, the budget can afford $5,900 to upgrade the system?
Well, we're sticking to the cost price, once we figure out the total cost, we'll bring it to city council with a recommendation to purchase or wait till next fiscal year.
No report.
The planning committee meeting for March 5th, Thursday, has been canceled. So do not show up. That's it.
I attended 2 meetings over the last 2 weeks. One was the 2020 flood planning meeting that was held in Fillmore Complex. Not a lot of good news came out of that. They're expecting more water. Grand River has already exceeded its yearly discharge, so 9 to 15 inches more water. There are no individual. There's no money available for individuals in regards to flood problems or anything that, and if we do have any problems, we don't want to put the word erosion in there. They said that's something we do not want to do. The only funds available would be if it affected our infrastructure, and that's a whole other issue. So, but the good news is we've been told by been assured by the emergency management for Ottawa County that if we do have any problems, they will respond and give us any assistance that they can as soon as they can. I went to the Transportation Technology and Infrastructure meeting in Lansing. This is a meeting of representatives from the cities across the state, and we give our opinions and advice to the subcommittees in the state legislature. There were 9 issues that we looked at. One we came right out and opposed, and there were 4 that we supported, and 4 that we remain neutral on. And the ones we remain neutral on, the basic reason was they were political issues, and we decided that as representatives of the cities, we would not get involved in issues between the governor and the legislature. There is no funding available in the budget for roadways. The $3.5 billion that the governor got the approval for bonding is strictly for the interstate highways, nothing for locals. So there's not a lot of good news there as well. But I think there's any good news that came out of that meeting. We're still working on getting additional support. The issues that we did approve or gave our support behind, if they pass, will definitely help our city out. The board review next Monday and Tuesday. So if anybody's interested in talking to the board review about their taxes, they can call for an appointment. I have on occasion been out by the bridge and still see commercial traffic driving across that bridge. So there are people that are ignoring the signs. And that would be the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DeWitt.
I pass.
Councilmember Williams.
No report.
Councilmember Carlson.
Kitchell Lindquist Dunes Preserve. We have a new invasive species that's out there that is easily recognizable in this type of weather because it's still green. It's the Oregon grape. And so we're having the invasive species pull next Friday, the 13th. From 12 to 2. Now, the reason it's 12 to 2 on a Friday, besides it's lucky 13, is that we're tag teaming with a group of volunteers that volunteer in the Ottawa County Park System. And so we're going to have quite a team out there to try to eradicate this out of our ultra pristine preserve. So that's what's happening out there. And we're making good progress with hiring another summer intern as well this year. So.
I just had a couple things. I attended the Planning Commission training down at Ottawa County, and it was attended by 3 of our residents who have applied for the Planning Commission, so that was great to see. I continue to go for my CEU credits. And then also, I will be attending the election board training this week with our city clerk. Remember to vote on Tuesday, that's here. And then also, it's a really quick response from staff, but I sent them a new link for the census 2020, and it is now up and running on our city website as of this afternoon. So thank you to the staff for doing that. Also, I have one last thing. I have a correspondence here, and it's not signed, and there's no return address. It came out of Grand Rapids. And the individual is asking that we consider turning the Fire Barn tennis courts into pickleball courts. So I would like to turn this over to staff, have staff have the rec commission. They can read this correspondence and see what they can do. Or whatever.
We've been talking about that, so
Yep, so,
we're working it.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Motion adjourned.
All right.
So I went to the Lumberjacks game yesterday. I got to drop the puck and that's their hometown hero. So
Wonderful.
So
Oh, man. They do.
girls watch me, got to go out.
Do you want,
drop the
Mr.
puck?
Mr. Buzender, since everybody is here, do you want everybody to sign this? Okay, before you leave, everyone needs to sign this. Okay?
And we're probably still live.
What is big cheese? You get to go first.
I do.
What is it?
It is the for Library Week.
Oh,
So if you don't have a black pen, use a black pen, just so it looks
Oh,